Dude, that dude for sure in here calling you Hamas Piker right now. Yeah. He's on forums online being like, dude, Hasan is literally Hamas. He's a Hamas.
Decades after Israel's creation, and they're not in the West Bank. So, if you're going to be arguing about Hamas, how can we ignore that over 200 Palestinians have been killed, including over 40 children, making it the deadliest year for Palestinians in the West Bank before October 7th? That does not even include the killings happening now, just in 2023. So what justification do you have for that if Israel intends to, quote unquote, go after Hamas, is killing many people, especially children, under the justification of Hamas? So what justification do you have of them targeting the West Bank, even if we were to buy anything you said, which honestly I'm questioning?
Have you considered the fact that I'm incredibly racist and assume that all Arabs love Hamas and they are Hamas, and therefore I'm going to make an argument to do pogroms in the West Bank because they're also Hamas? Get wrecked. And then all of my dumbass dick riders are going to fucking clap because they are perma-stuck, never getting pussy for the rest of their fucking lives because they're young Republicans, young Tories in the UK. So the only thing that keeps them going is just like the thrill of debate because they are just fucking deeply unlikable humans.
Sure. So the casualties that have been incurred in the West Bank are prior to October 7th largely. There have been many since October 7th because there have been many conflagrations between the IDF and the Palestinian Authority and Islamic Jihad members in the West Bank. There's significant violence over the course of the early part of this year. There's a breakaway group from the Palestinian Authority. It's called the Lions. The Lions were a small terrorist cell, the Lions Den. They were committing acts of terror in places ranging from Jerusalem to areas of the West Bank. And the IDF was going in and making operational decisions to kill many terrorists in these areas.
Yeah, he did it. He did exactly what I said. He did exactly what I said. He said literally, no, the IDF is killing terrorists in the West Bank. Yeah, the IDF, which, by the way, is currently, if we're looking at international law, what the IDF is doing in the West Bank is terror. What Palestinians do in the West Bank is self-defense and perfectly legal. You need to understand this. When Ben Shapiro talks about the West Bank and says the IDF has to occupy that area and they have to go and kill people, he is 100% in the wrong. Okay? That is, by legal definitions, by international law, an act of terror. This is an indefensible act of terror that every single person with a conscience, and even plenty of people in Israel who otherwise are currently championing the fucking death and destruction of Gaza, would agree to. So remember that. When Ben talks about the West Bank and says, well, the IDF is like cleaning up terror there, bullshit. The IDF is doing terror in this region that they are occupying illegally. Completely unacceptable. It is immoral and it is illegal. Not many get the Monty there, okay? Not many acts are both illegal and immoral at the same time. Usually there's a lot of acts that are moral but still technically not covered under the law, like legally permissible and yet still moral. For example, an act of violence against a slaver would be illegal and yet moral. Do you understand? Whereas in this circumstance, in the West Bank, any kind of action that Palestinians take towards the occupying force is both moral and legal. Okay? Like 100%. And you rarely ever get that. You rarely ever get a situation where you're in the pocket entirely. Okay? So, understand that. So, you know, everyone needs to recognize that Ben Shapiro is a fucking liar and a son of a bitch for making it seem like this, that these are like terrorists. It's like, no, they're not. They are the standing military of their own fucking land that you are unjustifiably occupying. Okay? The same goes for Lebanon. When Israel invaded and Israel was trying to fucking destroy Lebanon, Every act of resistance against the IDF was legal. Was not only legal, but also moral. Same with Iraq. Same with Afghanistan. When America goes into another country and invades another country, resistance to that invasion doesn't matter what our fucking fifis are about the matter, okay? Doesn't matter what mainstream media tells you, okay? It is perfectly legal and perfectly moral to resist against an occupying force, okay? I'm not saying the same thing about Israel proper. There is a distinction there, and that's an important one, okay? Which is why when I hear so many people try to conflate my perspective on the matter, they always say, oh, Hasan's talking about settlers. Like, he means like all Israelis are violently settling. It is not 1948, okay? It's not. It's not 1948. It's not 1967. It's 2023. The morality is obvious, but legal under what? Under international law.
There are many areas in the West Bank that have been particularly infiltrated by terrorism. That the city of Jenin would be probably the example of.
Like, that's ridiculous. He's talking about like the Jenin Brigade, right? Like, oh, the city of Jenin is actually infiltrated by terrorists. You don't get to make that distinction. You can't say that. Like, that's a ridiculous thing, dude. It's like there is no difference. It's literally like Palestinians saying technically, it's like Palestinians saying technically all of Israel proper is overtaken by a terrorist cell. It's called the IDF. You know what I mean? What's the point of international law if there's no mechanism to enforce it? I mean, it's just, I don't know. These guys are supposedly liberals in a rule-based international order, so that's why I keep bringing up the international law perspective. I mean, usually it's international law is just like written by the victors to bully those who are you know, not in the sphere of influence. It's pure hypocrisy ultimately. Yeah, international law is used to legitimize the current hegemony. Yeah, here it is. This is from 1975. Universal realization of the right to people's self-determination and of speedy granting independence to colonial countries and peoples for the effective guarantee and observance of human rights. I think this is where it's from. Here, decolonialization.
Jihad is an excellent example of another terrorist group that has wide presence in the West Bank, more so actually than Hamas. There's a Palestinian Islamic Jihad rocket, obviously, that fell on that Gaza hospital. The entire world then tried to blame on Israel.
Yeah, that was really sad, dude. It was really fucked up. I can't believe they did that. You know. Oh shit! They bombed they bombed a convoy of ambulances next to the El Shifa hospital like literally 3 days ago. So. Like, what is the argument, man? Like, what is the argument? I want to know the Zionist argument for this. It's like, only Israel gets to kill Palestinians. If Palestinians, even by accident, kill other Palestinians, then it's wrong. It's immoral and it's wrong. Only we get to do it. Over and over again. Like, I don't even agree with him on this. I don't even agree with him on this. The whole, like, bombing the hospital shit. Like, he thinks it's a certainty because he's obviously, you know, he wants to deflect away from Israeli crimes, but even if I were to agree with him on this, like, what's the argument? One Hiroshima worth of like conventional missiles is totally valid, totally just. It's the one time the Islamic Jihad rocket that misfired. That's the fucked up part. Yeah, what are you mad that Israel's KD is lower? Like what?
Okay, I'm not allowed to respond, right? Okay. So, if your entire argument, once again, is predicated on terror groups, what response do you have about the Great March of Return, which is a very well-documented incident where peacefully Palestinian civilians just marched to their own land that they have a right to go and return?
Racism. Here you go. I'll help you. Racism. That's it. every single argument that Ben Shapiro has is just racism. I'm not just saying that. Okay? Like, everything he says makes no fucking sense if you think Palestinians are human beings, worthy of dignity, worthy of a life of freedom. It's that simple, really. I promise. Like, I'm not exaggerating. I mean, he's written The Final Solution for Palestinians in 2003 in Town Hall. You could say that's like a long time ago, but obviously his perspective has only worsened over this time frame. He's talking about how Arabs love to blow up shit and live in sewage, but Israelis love to build. Apparently, Ben didn't even know what... Wait, what?
But they were killed, shot at, and murdered in cold blood.
What year are we talking about? Which group are we talking about? I need more specificity.
I'm talking about the Great...
He doesn't know! Stop! Stop! Fuck you! Fuck you! You animal! You fucking racist animal! He's like, what year? I need specificity because I didn't hear about this because I didn't get updated on the Hasbara propaganda on this.
Great March of Return.
I know I'm asking for more specificity because I'm unaware of all the details of what you're speaking about.
So the Great March of Return is a well-documented...
This is pretty cool. He's like, I've never seen Ben Shapiro so obviously on the back foot. I've actually never seen him so fucking obviously. I need to know what year so I can find out which terror group I can blame. Yeah, no, there is no terror group involvement in that. Which he should have just done the racist argument and been like, well, they were terrorists. Here. For those of you who don't know, the Great Right of Return was every Friday, Palestinian women, children, elderly, people in fucking wheelchairs, marching to the Gaza border peacefully. It was created by a poet to protest the borders and to say that Palestinians have a right to return to their own homes. The IDF sniped, no, it's not 2014, it's 2018. The IDF snipers killed around 200 people, including children, including a famous nurse that was shot and killed, which they then turned around and edited a video to lie and act like she said that she was a human shield. They killed old ladies. They shot a pregnant woman. They wounded so many people. They wounded thousands. One IDF sniper said he would take around 42 knees a day. There are even videos of snipers shooting children, like snipers filming themselves, filming their sniper rifle scope, shooting a kid. And this, of course, was not really covered by, I guess, Israeli media, or it's not really talked about because, like, I mean, it's just objectively immoral and completely unacceptable, like way worse than the top of the hour ad break. Austin is laughing. Yeah, I'm going to give the 3-minute ad right now. I felt shame. I felt shame about that. I felt shame in my heart for that one. That was fucked up. It wasn't covered in mainstream media at all. Yes, because at the same time, lo and behold, the American embassy was being moved to Jerusalem, a cause of great celebration under the Trump administration. That's what the fuck they were covering. And the very minor coverage that was afforded to the slaughter of civilians in the hands of the IDF, which the IDF has openly taken credit for time and time again, according to internal memos, internal documents, and also even generals openly stating that we have a process of saying yes to every single shooting, like where we talk about rules of engagement. Every single time a sniper rifle is fired, we have every single bullet accounted for. There's an authorization process. So it was completely ruthless, completely brutal, And of course, Ben Shapiro is oblivious to it because he's a fucking donkey. He is a fucking dumbass who does not give a single fuck about the truth. He does not care about the truth. He only cares about making his fucking argument. His argument that like Israel is a fascist, racist, ethno-nationalist country, and it's good. And it has to exist in the way that it does because what you would understand as a right to return and a right for dignity for all Palestinian people, which is like a liberal value, he considers a demographic nightmare. Never forget this. Every single argument you have with an ultra-Zionist will always revolve around how if you say you want a single solution, you want a single state as the only solution, they will turn around and say that a single secular, solitary state where Palestinians have a right to return is a demographic nightmare and can never be allowed. Democracy is a nightmare to those who want to maintain the apartheid state.
Documented instance where many Palestinians, after a tweet by a Palestinian, encouraged other Palestinians to go march peacefully back to their land.
Which land is theirs? What are we talking about?
Occupied Palestine.
Deflect. Dude, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. This is like, this should be studied. Yeah, he's on the back. He's on the back pedal. He's very quickly trying to deflect away from a fucking student debater.
Are you talking about in proper Israel? Where are we talking about? Like which areas?
We're talking about on the borders of Palestine, and we're also talking about their right to return to Palestine.
There is no right to return. If you're talking about in Palestine, if you're talking about the land that is inside the 67 borders, there is no right of return to Haifa. There's no right of return to Tel Aviv. There's no right of return to West Jerusalem.
So you have to remember that there are many, many, many elders who are older than the...
He did it. He did it. He successfully deflected away. Now she's talking about right to return. She should have said, where were the terrorists? She should have said, where were the terrorists? In that march. It's good to know that the supposed brilliant Ben Shapiro sometimes has to deflect away like this. I'm going to be honest. I think I could clap him on Israel. Like, actually. I think many people with literally like an elementary understanding of Israel-Palestine could clap him. I'm not even kidding. I don't think you can. Really? Dude, he just got owned by like a 19-year-old who fucking asked about like a very important part of very recent Palestinian history. Are you kidding me? The fact that he didn't know what the fucking Great March to Return is like already, that means he doesn't know anything. I think we always assume that like people who portray themselves very confident online, and I don't think I'm one of those people. I think I'm very insecure. I don't think I'm very smart, and I always openly mention, like I say, all the time. Like I don't present myself in a super confident way. He will use your anger issues against you. Says the Arabian Stallion. I think you've seen me debate people before, especially in issues where like I'm very confident in this. Like there is, I don't think that I would get angry. I think legitimately, it's not even just me. I think many people would be able to destroy Ben Shapiro on this issue because he's objectively in the wrong. Like, so objectively in the wrong that most liberals, when facing the reality, understand it, which is why he has to constantly maintain the idea that, like, anything that you say is anti-Semitic. Does that make sense? Because debates are not won or lost by the actual merits of the argument. If that was the case, then there would never, ever, ever be a debate because, like, there is the truth and then there's whatever the fuck charlatans claim it is, right? And in this situation, Ben Shapiro's already lost. Debates are won and lost by the audience reception. Are they receptive to your argument? Do they learn new things from the conversation? And on that front, given Israel being like a Western-facing democratic project that liberals love, without fully realizing what that entails, the liberal tendency towards at least thinking that humanitarian rules of engagement or like international rules in the international rule-based order is always violated historically and very consistently. And if the only thing you have is national security concerns, you still can't justify maintaining an apartheid state. There is no argument for it. You can't Hamas your way out of it.
The state of Israel. You have to remember that Palestine is not a Muslim land. You are equating this to a religious conflict. It's not. When Palestine, before it was occupied, you had Jews, Christians, and Muslims peacefully coexisting. Palestine is not a Muslim homeland. It's a land that existed where many people that are alive to this day are older than the state of Israel.
So are you making the argument that any population of any time, all of their descendants now have a right to go back to the place that their great-great-great-great-great-grandfathers went?
Not great-great-great-grandfather. We have grandmothers.
Okay, grandmothers, grandfathers.
Yeah, see, we're now moving away from like we moved away from the March of Return. Like, she's just basically saying, like, oh, if your great-great-great-grandfather lived there, then you can live there too? That's ridiculous. Ironically, that is the Zionist argument. So I don't know where he's going to go here, but I just want to maintain the position that he is also, like, shifted the conversation entirely.
Is that the idea that you can walk across the lines of any sovereign state and simply claim the place that you said that you had, even though you never established property rights, and say the Jordanian West Bank, or you
you never established property rights? Dude, that's fucking nuts.
abandon this place in Haifa. So your claim is that right now people get to walk across the border of a
They abandoned it.
sovereign nation and simply set up shop in Haifa? This is your claim.
So if you're, okay, so even if we were to buy what you're saying, which is obviously not true, I encourage you to Google about the Great March of Return, which was a peaceful resistance against a wrongful occupation of Palestine. Even if you were to buy what you were
Can you just define wrongful occupation? Which part of Palestine is occupied?
You're not answering my question.
I mean, I'd like you to answer mine.
Terror groups. I gave you an example of peaceful resistance.
Yes.
I'll give you an example.
Which part of Palestine is occupied? Like, what do you mean, dude? You're the fucking smarty pants. You should figure this out, I think. Again, he's deflecting. He does not know what the Great March of Return was. Why would he know? Because it doesn't benefit him in any way. Most Americans don't know, so he doesn't have to do propaganda over it, so he hasn't established the talking points against it. This is why I'm saying it's like not that hard to debate someone like Ben Shapiro on this issue, because like I was trying to describe, debates are won and lost on rhetoric, and it's important for the audience to be more receptive to your argument. And because the facts are so completely not on his side, he has to rely on broader narratives. Broader narratives such as Islamophobia. Broader narratives such as the lie that, Israel is a democratic state, is the only democratic state. Israel is a moral army. These are all lies that he can rely on because the media has also covered his ass on this front, right? This is exactly how Israel is discussed in literature, in art, and also in mainstream media for the most part. So it's very quick and very easy work to counter this because there are institutions that liberals broadly agree are valid, like the Human Rights Watch, like Amnesty International, like Oxfam, or like the United Nations. Institutions that liberals have to care about because in their theoretical fantasies of a rule-based international order, these are institutions that are hailed up as like proper institutions. 2021 was a major turning point for pro-Palestinian emancipation for this reason, because 2021, at the beginning of 2021, in the spring, Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch openly admitted that Israel is an apartheid state. Israel had been an apartheid state at that point for like 50 plus years, but them admitting this was a major step, because if you're having this conversation, we're not having this conversation on the basis of morality or immorality. Everyone has already established their position on this. We're having the conversation on how you can get the broader majority of squishy libs to come to terms with this reality that we are playing a very significant role in the maintenance of an apartheid state, to an area that he feels more comfortable arguing in.
Where people were wrongfully shot at, including children, and you still can't answer about why that's justified.
So, if again,
I keep talking about Hamas and terror groups, and you give examples of other terror groups, even though I give you examples of civilians who marched and were shot at. But
now you also arrive at this this secondary problem. Those who are personally invested in this are going to be understandably emotional. And this argument does not favor those who get understandably emotional because they have a personal stake in the matter. Ben also has a personal stake in the matter, but Ben is coming at this from the position of the dominant force. So for him, he has a lot more leeway to get emotional. He has a lot more bandwidth. Whereas if you are arguing against the person who is dominating you, okay, and you have to make arguments for those who are being oppressed, who are experiencing a universal wrong, and you obviously feel for those people, and maybe even they can attack you personally and say you're a terrorist supporter, then, you know, he has all the power in this situation. He doesn't have to fucking freak out at all. It's going to take a lot for him to lose his shit.
Even now, a few days ago, you had Palestinian people living in Israel proper, which is occupied Palestine, who are being shot at by farmers in their gardens and in their farms. And those people are being able to get away with shooting them with total impunity. So why is it that
That's not true. Many of those people have been arrested. They're all currently sitting in Israeli
jail. Wrong. Those people do not get arrested at all. There are two different legal standards here. Palestinians can do whatever the fuck, Israelis can do whatever the fuck they want in the West Bank. Israelis have the same rights and same liberties as Israelis living in Israel proper do. However, Palestinians do not. Palestinians right now living in occupied West Bank and in Gaza have, especially in the occupied West Bank, are dictated by military law, okay? They are treated like enemy combatants. They have certain boundaries, but they are dictated by military law. They're governed by military law in the same way that up until 1967, Palestinian citizens of Israel were governed by military law inside of Israel proper. Okay? Once Israel occupied the West Bank and Gaza, then they at least gave some rights to the Palestinian citizens of Israel. Anyway, that's not true. You do not go to jail if you kill settlers. Kill settlers. If you're a settler, you do not go to jail if you kill Palestinians. Charges are pressed in only 4% of settler violence cases. I'll give you another example. Charges are not pressed even if you kill an American citizen. In most of the famous cases, whether it be 2003 Rachel Corrie in Gaza, where the bulldozer fucking literally killed her deliberately, okay? The person who was driving the bulldozer did not get charged with a crime. He was found not guilty. The IDF soldier that assassinated Shireen Abu Akleh near the Jenin refugee camp, that did so violating international laws, an actual war crime, like someone who's a press person getting fucking shot and killed by a occupying military force, is completely and utterly just immoral, And also on top of that, unjustifiable. He was not punished either. First, they lied and said that it wasn't actually an IDF soldier. It was actually a member of the Palestinian forces there, like the Jenin Refugee Brigade. Okay? So Ben is absolutely wrong. He's lying. He's not wrong. He's just lying. So he just responded with a lie when he said
that just shot at a Palestinian
have been arrested.
Was not arrested. I encourage you to look into this.
I did look into this. Please get one answer before you.
He's wrong. He's just fucking lying. He's absolutely lying. There are incredibly few, incredibly rare instances where anyone even gets pressed charges, okay, in settler violence cases. How can you say this? How can you even say this when a dude who recently got a position in the Israeli, fuck, I forget what his position is. A guy who literally threw a Molotov cocktail at a settlement is now sitting in a position of power in the Israeli government. I forget the name of the guy is. Hold on, I'm going to pull it up right now. I'm going to try to figure it out. What's the guy with the Molotov cocktail guy? Like, he's literally an arsonist in the West Bank. I'm losing my fucking mind that he's just openly lying about this.
Before you leave, because this is an interesting conversation. Which part of Israel is occupied Palestine?
All of Israel?
There we go. There we go. There we go. So what you're calling
there we go. Yeah, dude.
for is the obliteration of the state of Israel, and all of this is just...
There we go. I got you. You've fallen into my trap. You are a Jew hater. I got you. Haha. I already knew this because you were wearing a hijab. Everyone knows it is the garb of one who hates the Jews. I have destroyed you now. If he knows he lied, what does he get from it? What do you mean? Fucking the satisfaction of just like straight up destroying an Arab Muslim woman is all he wants. This is what keeps him going.
Just a cover for that. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, he just fucking hand waved her away and was like, all right, you're done. You're a Jew hater. Boom. Fucking owned, dude. Got it. She literally, dude. She said, there are no legal repercussions for settlers who fucking kill Palestinians in occupied West Bank. Ben said, yes, there are. Lied. Okay. Just an abject lie. Literally, people in Israel will tell you that that is wrong. Okay. Because Ben isn't just a right winger. He is like to the right of the Israeli government too. And then he turned around. What part of Israel is occupied? She said, all of Israel. And he goes, okay, you want all Jews to die. Bye-bye. Moving on. Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
In a 5-star hotel in Qatar, while his people are millions of passionate to call for the
Say thank you for coming to speak with us that you did this evening. It's a real pleasure. I'm a theology student myself, and I was wondering, how do you reconcile your conservative political views?
Say into the microphone.
Sorry, yes.
Yeah.
How do you reconcile your conservative political views with the religious values of compassion and your own Jewish faith? And your stance on the Israeli-Palestine war?
I don't see why it's uncompassionate to call for the overthrow of Hamas, a terrorist group in the Gaza Strip, which has been oppressing its people and stealing billions of dollars.
Dude, it's like literally just a fucking brrr. I think it's compassionate to kill every... Like, no one said that, okay? No one is saying that. You're saying that. It's not compassionate to... First of all, I am not the best at, like, Judaism or theology, okay? I'm not by any means an expert. But according to the Neturei Karta, at the very least, and many Orthodox Jews originally, before the Zionist movement became so broadly popular and accepted, plenty of religious Jews said, the fuck do you mean? We're not supposed to have a nation state. That is actually antithetical to what the Torah says. We have to wait for the Messiah. It's one interpretation that still holds, at least in the minds of the Neturei Karta. and some of the other Orthodox Jewish communities that are anti-Zionist. So obviously, if you want a religious interpretation, like there are definitely plenty of religious justifications to why Israel is not allowed. Theodore Herzl himself, yes, you are correct, was a secular Jew. He just simply used Judaism as a mythos to try and make Zionism more popular. Has this guy ever debated non-college students? I don't know if he's ever debated a non-college student in this situation.
Dollars from its own people. Ismail Haniyeh is living in a 5-star hotel in Qatar while his people are living in absolute misery.
That's crazy, man. Then deal with that guy, you know? That's great. Okay, that's great. That seems like a political problem, right? It seems like a political problem that should be dealt with politically, not by fucking, like, this is a great argument. He's like, oh, Ismail Haniyeh is living in a 5-star hotel in Qatar. Okay. So killing 10,000 Palestinians is not doing shit to that, is it? So why do you have to kill 10,000 Palestinians? Ben Shapiro debated a world-famous pro-Palestinian activist recently. Okay, dude. Okay.
Operation with the military objective.
They did not debate, brother. This was not a debate. This was a suckfest.
Because of a war that he initiated by killing 1,500 people inside Israel proper and then taking 233 hostages. I don't see why that's non-compassionate. It seems to me that compassion also requires that you obliterate terrorist threats to your own population.
Obliterate! Yeah. Hypothetically, let's say I'm compassionately obliterating my enemies, making their babies bleed, making their babies scream. Compassionately, of course.
Okay, okay, remember you turn ahead. Okay.
Can you all hear me? All right, what about now?
Bro, this is crazy.
To see you. I've been watching you since 2015. You started my conservative journey, and
they also never mentioned that he's actually in Qatar because the U.S. asked Doha to host Hamas. Oh. If people don't understand how far to the right Ben is on this issue, he literally called out Tucker Carlson for not being genocidal enough. Well, Tucker Carlson is a little bit anti-Semitic. Not even a little bit. Tucker Carlson is anti-Semitic. So I think he says like anti-Israel shit from time to time so that he can get like pot shots off at Jews. So, I don't even know why I said a little anti-Semitic. I mean, he is anti-Semitic. I don't think Tucker Carlson is pro-Palestine because that would require him to side, like, that would require him to side with Arabs who he fucking hates more than he hates Jews, I think. Like, for a lot of white nationalists, they have these two conflicting thoughts inside of them right now in this moment. Do they rise to the occasion and utilize the anti-Israel sentiment to sneak in anti-Semitic rhetoric, or do they let Israel continue its ethnic cleansing campaign because they fucking hate Muslims? So basically, depending on what kind of white nationalist you are, inside of you, there are two wolves, exactly, chatter. The anti-Semitic wolf and the Islamophobic wolf. Right? So now these are competing. And depending on how much you believe the anti-Semitic conspiracies yourself personally, hinges on how hard you'll go against Israel if you're a white nationalist. Like, I think that a lot of the anti-Israel anti-Semites are straight up firm believers that like Jews do literally control the media and stuff. So they think like they have to believe it. They must believe it. And that's why they have to hate Jewish people more than they hate Muslims. And that's why they go out of their way. Go back to your own country. You have no idea what you're talking about. Ben Shapiro knows more about the situation. The only thing you know about is how to deliver the top of the hour every hour. I already ran it, chatter. But good one. The average white nationalist definitely hates Muslims more than Jews. Yes. A lot of white nationalists are Zionists as well. Remember, a lot of white nationalists, anti-Semites, are Zionists themselves because they think that, like, you know, for theological Armageddon reasons, right? As I've talked about time and time again.
I saw, unfortunately, you had to bring some pretty gruesome photos. And I have to say, I hope those photos aren't real. And I have my doubts because recently you posted an AI-generated image of a...
This is 100% a Groyper. He said he's been a Ben Shapiro fan who started him off in his conservatism journey in 2015. This kid is a Nazi. Dude, 100%. He won Hundo P, used to watch Ben Shapiro in 2015, and he went on a fucking journey and became a Nazi.
A charred infant corpse.
Yeah, let's see how fast before he mentions USS Liberty. Let's see.
No, I didn't. That is a lie. That is untrue. It was not an AI photo. It was not an AI photo.
That dude for sure in here calling you Hamas piker right now. Yeah. He's on forums online being like, dude, Hasan is literally Hamas. He's a Hamas supporter.
It was distributed by the Israeli government and the Prime Minister of Israel. It was verified by the United States government. That fake community note that said that it was an AI-generated photo was in fact taken down by Twitter because it was a fake community note. That is unfortunately not an AI-generated photo. I wish it were. It was a baby.
He's citing the Hinkle. Yeah, the kid got hinkled.
Obliterated beyond recognition because it had been burned to death.
So is it the word of the IDF in Israel versus the word of
No, actually, it's the photo. It's the actual camera footage taken by GoPro cameras by Hamas terrorists as they invaded Israel proper. I don't have to take Israel's word for it. A lot of this stuff was live streamed.
You should ask him, was the baby burning live stream? Because it wasn't. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I do believe that babies were ruthlessly murdered. Okay, I do.
So, to what extent, as you're posting to social media,
why am I giving the fucking Groyper talking points?
Are you willing to make sure the information you're posting is accurate, to not exchange the truth for giving aid to Israel?
God, this is such a bad argument. Oh God. This dude 100% thought this was going to go way differently in his head. Yeah.
I'm certainly doing my damn best. I mean, there's a lot of information flowing around. I'm doing my...
Why don't you care about Graham Norton? The fuck? What? Graham Norton? What the fuck is Graham Norton?
On that one, for sure, 100%. It is a lie that is an AI-generated photo.
I think he's literally being kitty glove with this guy because he diffused him by... He literally fucking hit him with the I'm your fan since 2015. So he's like not going fucking atomic nuclear bomb on him.
That is not true.
Why he debating children? That's what he does all the time.
In any way, shape, or form. And it shows how it does show how we live in a very dangerous era where anybody can, I mean, this is how.
What is this Israel proper talk? It's one that I use to make this designation of like areas that is not the Gaza, areas that's not the Gaza Strip, and areas that are not the West Bank where Palestinians live broadly. That's what I consider Israel proper. A lot of people can use it because it's important to make this designation.
Happening on a routine basis. You're seeing, for example, some of the pictures. There are horrible pictures coming out from Gaza, and a huge number of those are, of course, absolutely real. You're also seeing people who are repurposing pictures that are taken from Syria and then saying those are happening in Gaza. So, yeah, unfortunately, there is a lot of information that's floating around that is hard to kind of lock down and verify. That picture is 100% real, unfortunately.
I sympathize with you because as AI gets more advanced, it becomes increasingly hard to discern information. So I know you bear a lot of
I mean, this is going to be a serious problem as time goes on. Seriously, like the flow of information is going to be more.
Dude, notice how this kid literally hit him with the why did you post a fake photo? And Ben is like so receptive to him still because all he had to say was, I'm a fan of yours since 2015. And also he's not wearing a hijab. So there's that too. Like Ben was infinitely more ruthless to the student who was wearing a hijab than he is to this fucking kid because he said he's a dick rider.
More and more uncertain because of that. That I agree with on a general level.
Awesome. Thank you for your time.
Damn, he got fucking pushed and...
Awesome. Hi. If Israel is justified in killing civilians because of the acts of terror committed by Hamas, why isn't Hamas justified in doing what it did? Because Israel is keeping 13,000 children. It has tried them in military courts. Since the establishment of Israel, 55,000 Palestinian homes have been bulldozed. So why isn't Hamas justified in doing what it did if we use your logic?
So are you ready? I know what he's going to do. Cracks knuckles, goes, it's genocide time. Pushes glasses to the brow ridge, cracks knuckles, goes, it's genocide time. Okay? So the real answer is because they're Arab and therefore they're terrorists and therefore they're not real human beings by my assessment. But that's the real motivating reason as to why Ben feels that way. However, what he's going to say now is Israel's the most moral army on the planet, and when Israel attacks Gaza, it's actually not attacking Gaza, it's attacking Hamas targets. Hamas is the one who's doing war crimes by hiding behind civilian population when they're sending rockets in the direction of Israel. Okay? Therefore, what Israel is doing could never be equivalent to what Hamas has done. Hamas is killing people indiscriminately. Hamas is a rape gang of violent thugs, and they're barbaric, and they went into Israel because they wanted to do rapes and behead babies. Whereas when IDF beheads babies, they do it in a cool way with a rocket, with a Mark 84 bomb, with guided munitions. That's way sicker and totally justified. And moral also.
Well, so I'm going to answer your question, then I'm going to ask you a question if you don't mind. Is that all right? So so my answer is that Israel would not be justified in killing Palestinian civilians because of the actions of terrorists. Israel would be justified in attempting to kill terrorists, and civilian casualties are a cost of war.
Okay, so are Israeli civilian casualties on a cost of war in a violent emancipatory action then? Because here's the thing. While I personally think it's ridiculous to literally look at a militant faction under occupation and its actions and then compare them to a militant state that is engaging in the occupation, that is an apartheid state, that is a fucking nuke, we can't even get Hamas and Israel to sit on the same moral standards. I don't know why, like, the same fucking standards cannot exist for these two, let's say, militant entities. It blows my mind. It blows my fucking mind. Because if they exist on the same moral playing field, then because he has to justify what IDF is doing, then automatically he has to say, okay, well, you know, those are civilian casualties in the acts that Hamas engaged in. Because people always fucking use, like, Hamas's dog shit fucking missiles. Like, oh, Hamas is sending, you know, thousands of missiles into Israel. It's like, okay, dog, give them guided munitions then, so they can only fucking hit military targets. Like, what are we talking about here? Like, you think they want to kill random civilians and not military targets? What are you, fucking crazy? Give them a fucking JDAM Mark 84 rocket, let it fly, and see where they hit. If they use those rockets to hit civilian targets, then we can have a conversation about how maybe they're not the most moral army. But even then, they would still be on the IDF playing field. They would get to the IDF playing field if you gave them guided munitions. Of course Hamas wants to hit civilian targets, question mark. The fuck do you mean? What do you mean? We don't even know. You don't know that, and neither do I. You want to know why? Because they don't have guided munitions. What? They don't. And even if they did, okay, even if they weren't lobbing like fucking backyard bootleg bathtub missiles into Israel, okay, into fucking Israel, even if they didn't have that, and they did actually have guided munitions and they fucking hit civilian targets, then they would literally reach Israel's level of immorality. Because just like Israel, since October 7th, Hamas militants did deliberately kill and target civilians. So does fucking Israel. So even if we were, do you understand what I'm trying to say? They're both war crimes, except one is a war crime committed by a militia that is not a standing army with fucking rules of engagement, okay, against an occupying state. You're full of hate. I feel bad for your mom. I'm not full of hate at all. Wait, why do you feel bad for my mom? My mother loves me. Thank you very much. Your mother loves me too, as a matter of fact. Like, guys. Understand what I'm trying to say, okay? Please. This is very important. This is very important to try to understand what I'm trying to say here, okay? Targeting civilians is a war crime. Unjustifiable. I agree. Which is why I condemn Hamas, okay? We're in agreement there. But the other side does not condemn the IDF because they do not hold the IDF to the same standards that they hold a fucking militant group that is violently retaliating to an apartheid state. Do you understand? It's fucking ridiculous. It is so ridiculous. One is a militarized state that is an occupying force on 5 million civilians, okay? 5 million Palestinians, both in Gaza and also in the West Bank. The idea that, like, we are holding a militant group comprised of, like, orphaned 18, 19, 20-year-olds that behaved like a roving gang once they accomplished a military objective far beyond their scope of imagination and engaged in brutal, barbaric acts. And they certainly did. Okay? The idea that we hold them to a higher standard than the motherfucking Israeli state is mind-boggling. Like, that's crazy. That's crazy. What are we doing? Really? Like, those guys are supposed to be the most moral army, but Israel, on the other hand, who we claim is the most moral army, accidentally keeps killing fucking civilians, even though Hamas doesn't have a fucking registry of every single Israeli living in Israel proper. Israel does. They have the registry, the population registry of every single Palestinian living in Gaza. That's why they fucking call them up before blowing up their houses. That's why when they blow up a journalist's house, it's extra fucked up. Because you know that shit's not an accident. You know that shit is by design. You know that's fucking targeted. They know where every fucking Palestinian lives in the Gaza Strip. And they blow their shit up on purpose. They have guided munitions and they blow civilians up on purpose. They have superior firepower and they kill civilians on purpose. 3,000 plus children have been ruthlessly slaughtered. God, you are so bad faith. It sucks that you at least have some semblance of morality inside of you that is eating away at your core, that when faced with facts, you go, you must be bad faith. Because if I listen to what you have to say and you know, look at it with an ounce of charitability, That goes against everything that I've believed my entire life, and it makes me feel bad. Okay? That's it. That's the point. So is operating out of civilian infrastructure is a moot point. The IDF operates out of civilian infrastructure as well. All fucking Israeli citizens are technically military. Like 50% of women in Israel served in the military. Okay? By international standards, there's mandatory service. So they're enemy combatants? Really? They're more enemy combatants than fucking every random Palestinian in Gaza. There's mandatory service. Go ahead. Go ahead. Explain it to me. There's mandatory service in Israel. You can make a legal argument that the assumption that most Israeli adults are enemy combatants because of their mandatory military service, that they could be called into fucking active duty any given moment, technically declares a certain group, an entire group of people in a certain age range to be enemy combatants. My question to you literally is, unironically, to simply hold a nuclear state, like a state with a nuke, to the same standards that you would hold a violent militant group. Okay? Just that. And those who defend Israel can't even do that. That's why this conversation is fucking ridiculous. All right, let's get back to this.
That is just a reality of life. During World War II, there were 70,000 Brits who died during the Blitz bombing, and there were 2 million Germans who died, civilians who died during World War II. And I don't see a lot of monuments in Britain because of the 2 million civilians who died in Germany. The costs of war are brutal. They are terrible.
I like that what we did was so fucking ruthless that, like, it is probably the most, like, indefensible part of World War II, one that, like, Howard Zinn and Kurt Vonnegut, who have personally talked about, and how it was like a radicalizing moment for both of them in different directions. And that we also set the standards after World War II because it was so fucked up. And he literally is still like, he's still like, there's so many totally acceptable moments of carnage in World War II, okay? I love World War II. I watch a fuck ton of World War II documentaries. It's my favorite, okay? It's great. It's like, it fuels me with passion. It makes me happy to see Nazis get fucking destroyed, okay? Straight up. It was brutal. It was ruthless. The barbarity is obvious, okay? But it was a just cause. To compare attacking the Nazi machine that was a militarized state with bombing your concentration camp because there's 35,000 militants amongst the densely populated civilians is a psychotic argument. And it's just ridiculous. Completely ridiculous.
They're horrifying. There's a vast difference in moral scope between deliberately going into a civilian area and murdering everyone you can find and trying to kill a terrorist who is deliberately hiding beneath a civilian area, hiding their rockets in civilian areas, starving their own people. There is a vast difference. Okay, so now I get to ask my question, if you don't mind. So my question is, do you believe that there is...
No, there is no... Wait, what? Vast difference? Like, he's just saying, like, Hamas is indiscriminately killing civilians, whereas Israel is discriminately killing civilians. Okay, one's a militant group resisting an apartheid regime in a barbaric way, certainly. The other one is the apartheid regime, but they're discriminately killing civilians. How do you fucking leave this... How do you leave this conversation thinking like, oh yeah, no, the nuclear state is actually in the right? Unless there's a super secret third premise that's hidden. And that third secret premise that no one is really discussing is just kind of out there in the ether. Okay? It's just kind of flying around. And that third secret premise is that Arabs are not real humans. Like, the Palestinians are not humans in this equation, whereas the Israelis are. That's it. That secret, racism. It's always racism.
There is a moral difference between Hamas going into, for example, Kfar Aza and murdering entire families, and Israel attempting to target terrorists and accidentally hitting civilians.
Israel is effectively doing the same because Gaza is the most densely populated region in the world. There are 15,000 people per square mile.
So does Hamas get
Over
immunity
half of
because
the
they're there? So
population's
Hamas gets
children.
immunity. So
Israel has killed 3,500 children in the past 3 weeks. That's more children. That's more children than have died in conflicts around the world in each of the last 4 years.
So just to be clear, your logic is that if you're a terrorist group located in a densely populated community and you hide behind civilians, you're now immune.
Where are the children meant to go?
So you're immune. Okay. That's
Where
a
are they
violation
meant
of
to
the
go?
Geneva Conventions, but okay. You're now immune. Your logic is
What do
that...
you mean you're immune? No. Asking for the same standard doesn't mean that you're immune. What the fuck? He literally is just saying, I have to shoot through these babies. Like, I have to shoot through these babies. You can't say that's a violation of the Geneva Conventions when you're talking about fucking Hamas. Well, simultaneously, when you're called into question about defending the acts of the IDF, you go, fuck the Geneva Conventions. You can't do that. I've heard him literally say, the Geneva Conventions.
You're a Hamas terrorist.
Sorry, since 2005, 23 out of every 24 conflict deaths have been Palestinian. I don't see any moral equivalency there. It's clearly unjust what the IDF has been doing to the Palestinians because there's a vast disparity between the number of Palestinians being killed and the number of Israelis.
I mean, I would
The
certainly hope that
disparity is
Israel is
huge.
killing more Hamas
This isn't
members.
a conflict.
Wait, I would certainly hope that Israel's killing more Hamas. Dude, look how fast and loose he plays with Palestinian and Hamas. No, Ben, that's racism. And you did it. Except because a lot of people are racist, they don't recognize it. They go, yeah, no, that's true. Yeah. There it is. That's the distinction. I would certainly hope that Israel's killing more Hamas. No, she said Israel's killing more Palestinians. You said they're Hamas. You're also personally admitting that you can't kill Hamas without killing civilians, and that is an acceptable casualty. It's not. And the reason why you can't kill Hamas without killing civilians, unlike in prior sieges where at the very least, like, civilian casualties are not as excessive, like if we're talking about Raqqa or if we're talking about Fallujah, where even then there's like a tremendous number of civilian casualties, but still nowhere near as bad as Gaza, is because America doesn't maintain or did not maintain Fallujah as its own concentration camp that they wouldn't allow civilians to leave. That's the fucking difference. Do you get it? Well, he doesn't. Do you understand? He didn't misspoke. He's just saying every Palestinian killed is Hamas. Yeah.
This isn't a conflict. This is one-sided ethnic cleansing.
Yeah, why hasn't the IDF posted their W's if they're wiping out Hamas? I haven't heard a single name drop after 4 weeks. There's like a couple militants, like low-level militants that they fucking clapped. But it's weird. I would go so far as say they've killed more militants, as far as I understand it, in fucking Lebanon, 120 plus so far in Lebanon. More Hezbollah people have been killed by Israel than fucking high-level Hamas officials. They've killed more journalists than they've killed like high-level Hamas militants, it seems. Like, what the fuck's going on? They have killed more hostages than they've killed Hamas officials for sure.
Again, I'm just asking you, if based on the numbers, more Germans died than Brits in World War II, did that mean that the British were wrong in World War II? Because they did. Many more Germans died than Brits. Based on the numbers, does that mean that Britain was wrong?
Yeah. Here's the problem. Here's the issue. Germans killed way more people than the British did in general, okay? And that's the reason why it was permissible, at least at the time, to engage in these mass bombing campaigns. No, we're not talking about India. We're talking specifically from the lens of this conflict. Okay? The reason why you can't, we're specifically talking about World War II. The reason why you can't make this equivalence is because the militarized state, the machine of death and destruction in this circumstance, is not the fucking militant group. It's the nuclear state. So a comparison here quite literally does not favor your argument. It favors the argument that Israel is closely resembling the actions of Nazi Germany in this argument. Okay? You can't October 7 your way out of this. Because while October 7 is a particularly brutal, if not the most brutal retaliation, when you calculate the 75 years of occupation and war, but specifically the 56 years of occupation, direct occupation, okay, the death toll and the way that those murders have been committed does not favor your argument at all. That's it.
In World War II.
Britain wasn't bombing civilians.
That's not true. They were.
There's a clear difference.
You should talk to the people in Dresden, but you can't because they're dead.
There's a clear difference.
The argument here should be, did Britain have the population registry of every single person living in Dresden and deliberately fucking bomb them with guided munitions? Oh, wait, no, they didn't, because 1, it was not occupied British territory. 2, they did not have the population registry of Dresden. And 3, they did not have guided munitions. Okay? And 4, they were fighting against a militarized death machine. The militarized death machine in this circumstance is Israel, not Hamas. Also, Bomber Harris, chief of the RAF's bombing campaign, was disgraced for what was retroactively identified as war crimes, so Ben's argument has no foundation from the get-go. Dresden, 10,000% was military targets. Lamau, man. No, there's definitely the civilian casualties in Germany was tremendous. It is probably the most contentious part of World War II. Why do you argue with the most contentious part of World War II? Unless you want to make an argument, like you have no leg to stand on, so you try to invoke some semblance of morality from the one time, from the one fucking time that you think it's like totally valid to do something that is incredibly violent. Same with the firebombing of Tokyo and the firebombing of Japan and also nuking Japan. There is no morality in bombing civilians. That's crazy. It's so crazy. We literally fucking made rules of engagement for it after the fact. I don't know why people say this.
Difference. Well, I agree that war is horrible, but this is not a just war. What Israel is doing is not a just war. There is a difference between fighting the Nazis.
So it is not a just war.
Fighting the Nazis.
It is not a just war when you fight a war against people who murder 1,500 of your civilians and take 233.
Yeah, I'll say it. Yeah, no, it's not. It's not. 100%. It's not. Yeah, when you're the militarized state, when you're an apartheid state, okay, when you're an apartheid state that is occupying this territory, yeah, no, it's not just at all. What the fuck do you mean? You're literally you've killed 10,000 civilians. Like, what? That's insane. And the argument is Israel should let Hamas do whatever they want. No, the argument is that you cannot deal with Hamas through violent means. This is a reality that every single person fucking understands. Okay? The only people that refuse to reckon with this reality are those who cynically want to hide their ethnic cleansing campaign and their permanent annexation of parts of Gaza. Please, you can't deal with Hamas through nonviolent means, though. Please read a singular book on the matter to come to the conclusion that Hamas is an invention of, and I don't mean like the classic Israel paid for Hamas to be more powerful or whatever. Hamas is completely the fault of Israel, not because it was originally funded by Mossad or anything like that, okay? It is completely the fault of Israel because of its increasingly violent means of maintaining an apartheid state. Okay? What terrorist group was stopped with nonviolence? ANC, IRA, every terrorist group that has fought against colonial occupation has been stopped with nonviolence. There has never been an instance where a terror group has been stopped permanently through violence. You are wrong. You have always been wrong, and you are wrong on this one too. ANC in South Africa, IRA in Ireland. Militant groups in Algeria. The only time Viet Cong, FLN in Algeria, Viet Cong in Vietnam. Al-Qaeda was stopped with violence. ANC is a good example, though. You're wrong. Al-Qaeda was not stopped with violence. Al-Qaeda still operates. We arm Al-Qaeda right now. We have been arming Al-Qaeda because Al-Qaeda is a Saudi invention. And we literally currently arm Al-Qaeda in Yemen. Or, well, I guess that's been scaled back. Viet Cong, ANC, and the IRA were not stopped. They won. The fuck? Okay. Great example. There you go. They won. Exactly. How did they win? Because the occupying force retreated. The occupying force retreated. The ANC, again, Hamas winning is genocide, methinks. No, you think's wrong. The Taliban won as well. So how did that work? They were not stopped in any way. You're admitting that I'm right. And also, Hamas winning is genocide, methinks, is a silly argument because you know what's genocide? What Israel is doing right now. Ultimately, militancy is no longer a necessity in post-colonial movements once the colonial apparatus is dismantled, historically speaking. Okay? Hamas is something you have to deal with politically, not through violent means. And you don't need to go that far to understand this. You want to know why? One, because their leadership is not even in fucking Gaza. So that's number one. And two, more importantly, perhaps, look to every single other siege that Israel is engaged in. Okay? You can tell this person is a burden to have a conversation with to everyone in their life. Yeah, he said, methinks. If you check the citation, Ben includes 500 soldiers and the number of 1,500 civilians, the opposite of a civilian, for fuck's sake. It doesn't matter. Okay, 500 soldiers and then what? 1,000 civilians. It's still not appropriate. The white genocide in South Africa after the ANC victory was wild, right? Oh, wait, that never happened. I mean, oh, God, don't bring in the fucking white nationalists in here. They're going to start fucking crying about white genocide. Are you going to go over this, brother? I would like to know your thoughts. What? As the only Jewish member of Michigan's congressional delegation, I have reached out to work Arab and Muslim constituents who I know are feeling fear and anguish right now, and I've tried to reflect that empathy on my approach to this crisis. I asked the same of Representative Rashida. The phrase from the river to the sea is one of division and violence. It is counterproductive. Yeah, dude, I don't care. I'm sorry. This is completely fucking ridiculous, dude. Sorry. You said free Palestine, and that scares me because I misunderstand it, and I think that it means like I've come up with a new. I know you're Palestinian, okay, but I don't trust your argument for what you are saying is how you get emancipation. I think it's a different secret thing that I decided. So all of a sudden, you have to abide by my understanding of your own emancipatory slogan. The fuck do you mean? It's a dog whistle? Yeah, if you're a racist piece of shit, yeah, it is a dog whistle. Anything is a dog whistle. Hamas says free Palestine. That actually, methinks, is also genocidal. Sorry, methinks that's genocidal. So you have to abide by my standards. Like, get the fuck out of here. Can you devil's advocate this argument? What do you mean? You want me to steal man from the river to the sea being genocidal? Is that what you want? I mean, I can do that.